Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is gonna be a review of the new Urban Decay Naked Honey palette. We're gonna swatch all the shades in this palette, talk about the formula, how it compares to some other Urban Decay palettes, and how I got this eye look today using the palette. So if you guys wanna know everything about the Urban Decay Honey palette, then just keep on watching. Alright, so the Honey palette is Urban Decay's latest palette. This is launching on September 13th online and in stores at Sephora and online at urbandecay.com. It's also going to be launching at Ulta on September 23rd, and then later in the month it'll be in stores at Ulta and different retailers as well. So this was sent to me by Urban Decay. I wasn't actually originally planning on purchasing this palette just because when I first saw it, I wasn't like super excited about it. I feel like I have a lot of similar things in my collection. But basically this is a honey themed palette, lots of golds, browns, very neutral palette with a little bit more of a gold theme. It has 5 shimmer shades and 7 matte shades. It is $49, so it's the same price point as other Urban Decay Naked palettes. So I'm gonna go ahead right into swatches, getting into the different shades in comparison so you guys can know a little bit more about the palette. All right, so I wanted to give you guys a closer look at all 12 shades in the Honey palette. So I'm gonna go ahead and insert some swatches of all of the shades in the palette. There are 5 shimmer shades and 7 matte shades. One shade, which is the lightest shade, is kind of like a satin finish a little bit, like a standard brow bone highlight, but I just insert that with the matte shade. So the biggest thing that I noticed when this palette was first teased was that a lot of like the shimmer shades look really similar and the matte shades look really similar to each other. And that's definitely the case. I just went ahead and swatched like all the shimmers on one side and all the mattes on the other side. And you can see there's definitely not a ton of variety there. For sure, like some of the shimmers, like these two, would look really similar on the eye. Even the 2 golds, well, they are kind of different. Like the one that I have on my lid today, the shade Honey, is more like a green gold, and then Golden is more of like a true gold. They're still gonna be fairly similar on the eye. There's not a ton of variety there. And then the green shade, I have worked with this shade as well. And I wish it was more of a shimmer. You can see that it only looks shimmery in like certain angles. Otherwise it looks a little bit more dull. It doesn't like pop like some of the other shimmers, the lighter shades. And then for the mattes, a lot of these kind of just blend together. They're all gonna look really similar on the eye. Yeah, it's basically like slight variations within the matte shades. There definitely could be some more variety there. I wish that there was more yellows. I wish there was like a mustard in the palette. I wish there was maybe like an olive matte green in the palette. I think they could have definitely done more with the gold and the green shades, especially because I played with this shade Queen. I did a tutorial with this for Instagram, and I really just have other brown shades to work with, and it would have been great to have like more green shades in the palette, or at least just like one matte green. I think because they went ahead and added a green in the palette, they could have expanded on that a little bit more, especially because we have like enough coppers and browns to work with in here for sure. I also wanted to give you guys a comparison to like the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette. I think there's definitely some similarities with like some of the matte shades. There we go. Some of the matte shades in both palettes. Like you're gonna definitely get some overlap with some like the warm brown shades, but for like all the shimmers, they're completely different in different tones. And then also comparing it to the Naked Reloaded palette, these are actually like completely different palettes. Same thing, we're gonna get some similarities with these like lighter brown tones, but as far as the shimmers and like the overall color scheme, they are completely different. And I think that the Honey palette is a lot better quality than the Naked Reloaded. I just found that this palette was very subtle. Like it really didn't have a lot of shimmers that really pop on the eyes. They all just applied very like just more sheer and yeah, subtle. And this one you can definitely get like a good pop on the eye with the shimmer shades. So I definitely say that the biggest negative with the palette is the color scheme and how little variety there is between some of the shades. But I will say that the formula and the quality of the actual eyeshadows is a positive. So I'm gonna go ahead into the tutorial so you guys can see how the shades apply and how I got this eye look today. All right, so getting right into the palette, I'm gonna start off with the shade Keeper as a transition shade right here. And just build that up in my crease. I think I'm gonna use one of the gold shades maybe the shade Honey, because it's kind of like a greenish gold. And I do find that with the Urban Decay palettes, the matte shadows are a little bit softer. So they do apply lightly at first and you can build them up. They're not like with my Anastasia palettes, I could do like one swipe and it'll be like fully pigmented. But with these, you do want to build up this shadow if you want a more intense look. And it honestly just takes like an extra 5 seconds to build up this shadow because this is still just the same shade. But you do have some options if you want like a more of a natural look or something more dramatic. Today we're gonna do a little bit more drama. And then I'm gonna go in with the shade Drip, this darker brown shade, and just build that up in my outer corner in my crease. And something I'm realizing looking at all of the Urban Decay Naked palettes is that compared to a lot of other palettes in my collection, there are only 2 textures in this palette. It's just mattes and shimmers. I wish that there was like some more variety with like foiled shades or like something with just like a light sheen, or I wish there was more of like a matte shade with like a glitter reflect, or darker shades that are shimmers and not just like the lid colors kind of that are shimmers. I would definitely like to see some other textures from Urban Decay in the future for sure. All right, so moving into a lid color. So the 2 favorite shades of mine in this palette are these shades Golden and Honey. I think I'm gonna use Honey, this kind of like lime green, goldish shade. I don't really have a lot of shades like this in my collection. I think it's like a really unique shade. This is probably the shade in the palette that like stands out the most. It's a little bit like almost neon, which I really like. I think it's definitely like really unique, because a lot of the other shimmer shades are kind of like the standard coppers and golds that I typically wear. And I actually really like the shimmer shades in here because I would wear like all of them. They're all like my go-to colors. But I think this one is definitely a little bit different. I feel like this shade is definitely true to the name Honey. Like this look definitely screams like Honey palette, whereas some of the other shades are more typical to like the standard like Naked Reloaded palette, or similar to some shades in like the Naked Heat palette. So I'm gonna take the shade Sting, the darkest shade in the palette, and I'm just gonna build that a little bit in my outer corner. Then I might add like a darker shimmer in the outer corner too, so it doesn't get too harsh, but I do want it to be a little bit smoky around the edge. Then I'm just gonna top it off with this shade, this like copper darker shimmer shade. I'm just gonna apply that with my finger and just apply it like in the outer edge of my eye. I just wanna do that to soften up the outer corner a little bit. That is why I wish there was like a really deep like shimmery shade or something that had a little bit of a different texture in this palette, but these will definitely work. All right, so I just added a copper liner to my lower lash line, and then I'm gonna finish off the lower lash line. I'm just gonna use the shades Keeper and then mix in the copper as well and blend those out. And then I am also debating adding glitter to this look because I do have a glitter gold liner from Urban Decay. I'm wondering if I should add a wing. Maybe I should do both, honestly, because this is kind of like a simple look. I think I definitely want to add a wing. I'm not the best at wings, so it might look better without the wing. But let's go ahead and add a wing. All right, so I just added on some eyeliner and mascara. The eyeliner I used is just the Roller Lash eyeliner from Benefit, and I also just used the Roller Lash mascara from Benefit. I wanted to do mascara just so I could see if I wanted to add glitter, and I think I do. I have the Urban Decay Heavy Metal Glitter in Midnight Cowboy. Let's see how this goes. So I'm just gonna start applying this and see where it takes me. I like it. Yes, I'm happy. That's what it was missing. That's what was missing from this look, was glitter. All right, so I actually really like that a lot. I feel like the glitter definitely added more to the look because otherwise I feel like it was a little bit simple because it's just like a gold eyeshadow, but it really helps emphasize the greenness in that shade because the glitter is so much more neutral. But that is the completed eye look. The glitter definitely looks like a little bit heavy before I put on lashes because the lashes will just help like balance everything out. So I'm gonna go ahead, apply some lashes, and then I'll give you guys all my final thoughts about the Honey palette. All right, so this is the completed look. The shadows are actually very easy to blend out and apply, and I actually really love how this shade Honey really pops and stands out on the eyes, which I don't necessarily find with all Urban Decay shadows. Sometimes they're a little bit more subtle and more of like a satin or like a shimmer shade, and this one really looks like super foiled. And I think Urban Decay did a really good job with the neutral shimmer shades in this palette, like the golds and the coppers out here are all very pigmented and really pop on the eye, which I don't necessarily find like the Reloaded palette. Like in this palette, the shimmers are like very subtle, but these really stand out. But overall, all the mattes, the coppers, and the gold shades in here blend out really easily. I really wish there was just more. I know I keep repeating that, but if there was even just like a few different variations of the matte shades, I feel like I would get more for my money with this palette, because really you can take this palette and turn it into like 6 shades and you'll get those same eye looks, because a lot of these, like especially the mattes, they are almost like redundant to each other, and even some of the shimmers, like especially the copper shades in here, are very similar to each other. So I am a little bit torn with this palette because I do think that the quality is there, but I don't think you're getting anything like very special with the shades. And I do wish that Urban Decay would even just start to play with different formulas within their eyeshadow palettes and just some more variety than just like standard shimmers and mattes. I think there could definitely be more to this palette, but if you're interested in these particular tones, I think you would really like the quality, but I think you would also get like very similar eye looks day to day with this palette. So if that's what you prefer, like you like to wear like the same couple eye looks and not have to like really overthink your makeup, I think you would really enjoy it, because this is a good like everyday palette that's gonna look really great on the eye, and you don't have to like overthink your eye look. You don't have to like blend for an hour or anything with this palette. But if you're into more creative makeup and playing with like different colors and stuff, I think that you would probably get bored with this palette. Alright guys, so those are all my thoughts on the Urban Decay Honey palette. If you guys want to see more looks with this palette, I'll be sharing some on my Instagram in the next couple weeks. Definitely let me know if you plan on purchasing this palette or your thoughts about it in the comments down below. And if you guys like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I'll talk to you guys soon in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.